Hi guys, Paul here, and this is going to be a quick rundown on the Xiaomi Yi HD camera. And this camera was actually loaned to us by a mate of mine. I'll have a link in the description to his YouTube channel and also his RC Group's username. So a big shout out and thank you to him for loaning me his brand spanking new camera that he hadn't even used himself. So I have actually got one of these on order for myself too, so I'll have that here hopefully soon, and I can do some follow-up test footage and firmware updates and try a few different things with this camera once I receive my camera. So the camera itself has pretty much a similar form factor to the GoPro, but no LCD. I'm basically powering it up here, and when the blue light is flashing, it basically means the camera is booting up. Once it goes to a solid lit LED like it has there, it means it is ready to go. Now that red LED means it is in video record mode. So red LED on, video record mode, red LED off means it's in photograph mode. And at the back you can see where you can barely see that LED, but it is definitely on and it is definitely in video record mode. Once you click it again, it'll switch off. That means now it's in photograph mode, and click it again and it should switch back to video mode. Now you can set this up in default so it boots up in a certain mode. And on the side we have the Wi-Fi. Once you click that once, it'll light up solid blue, and once it starts flashing, it basically means it is ready to go. The Wi-Fi is up and running. Now you'll need to pair this up obviously with a Android or an iOS device. Now these are just screenshots from my iPhone, and you can run this on iOS or Android, it doesn't really matter. So but you will need definitely a tablet of some sort to be able to actually adjust the settings. So that's probably one of the downsides with this camera, but not a big deal if you do have a tablet. So it does obviously support live view, so you can actually frame your shots. So that's another good feature with it. And what we'll do is jump right into the settings. So as you can see in the settings, you can set the video quality. Obviously high is what you want to go with. Timestamp I've got switched off. You can set your video resolution, etc. One of the more important ones is default startup mode. Now I've set that to video because obviously if I'm at the field, I want it to automatically go into video mode, and all I need to do is once I've switched it on, press record, and I am good to go. And here you can see some more of my settings. The one to watch out for is the lens aberration correction. Now I've got that switched off. I highly recommend you switch that off unless you've got a specific application, because it does this freaky distortion thing that it does towards the edges of the video, which just doesn't look right to me. So hence I've got that switched off, but you're more than welcome to have a play around with that and see whether that's worthwhile for you or not. But we'll definitely be flying with that switched off. And obviously you can see the firmware version. It's worth noting I haven't actually updated the firmware on this one. I will do some videos on firmware, and I will touch bases on that in a later video, because there are some custom firmware hacks that are coming out for this camera which are going to be really worthwhile. So when we first got this camera, we were pretty excited, went out and took some footage with it, and once we reviewed the footage back, it turned out that the focus was actually set incorrectly from the factory. And this seems to be a common occurrence at the moment, where some people are receiving these and they're fine, and others receive them and the focus is out by a long shot. I think this thing was focusing on anything up to about 12 inches away, but anything beyond that was pretty much out of focus. So hence I've got this brand spanking new camera that isn't mine, and I've spoken to the owner, and he's suggested I break it open and do the focus adjustment on this camera, which obviously is a bit of a worry because it wasn't my camera, and the last thing I wanted to do was actually break someone else's camera. So what I've done here is I've already actually removed the top face, and I'm just giving you a quick look around it so you can see exactly where all the clips are located, to give you an idea what it is you're trying to actually remove. Now the way I went about removing this is I had a sharp blade, something that would just fit in there and allow me to pry it up a little bit, and that helped me sort of just lever the front panel off a little. And once I got it high enough, I used one of these tools, which is just like a bent up screwdriver thing. It's used to lever panels off, etc. And that allowed me to actually get the front fascia off. So you just need to be really careful when doing that. but it is possible to take it off without doing too much damage. So if you are going to do that, you're doing it at your own risk, so keep that in mind. So that's the front fascia, and as you can see, this is the camera itself. Build quality looks really good, and what I want you to pay notice to is, I'm not sure how well you're going to actually see that, but if you look very carefully, there's a blob of glue there. It's something like a hot glue, it looks like, or something similar to a hot glue, and that needs to be removed. That's what's actually stopping the lens from turning. So you're not going to be able to adjust the focus on it unless you actually remove that. And what I'm doing there is basically prying it off. I use the sharp blade to actually cut away a little bit and then pry it off, and I do the same with the other side. Now on the back of it, you have a micro HDMI port. You need to plug that into, well, the best way to focus it, I found, was basically plug that into our HD TV and then set the focus using that. So that's the way I went about doing it. The other way you could possibly do it is adjust the focus, record, and then stop, pop it into your computer and just go backwards and forwards and analyze the footage until you achieve correct focus. But the way I did it, I used the micro USB port and plugged it into my HD TV and did the focus that way. Now once you have focus, then it's just a matter of placing a little bit of hot glue. I put a little bit of hot glue underneath and also on top, just to stop the actual lens from turning. And then once you've done that, it's just going to be a matter of getting the top fascia back on again and very carefully locating it and pressing it in place. And it does go down pretty easily, so once it's clipped back in place, you should be pretty much good to go. So what we'll do now is cut to some test footage. So for this test, you're looking at a comparison between this Chinese camera and also a GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition, and both of them are set to 1080p. So have a look at this footage. I'm not sure how this is going to come out on YouTube. I'm obviously looking at the raw footage and it looks pretty good to me, but what you're looking at is both of those cameras side by side in 1080p mode. So have a look, and what you're looking at is how the camera is handling the different light situations. Over here I've got it pointing in towards the sun, and the reason I've done that is I know the Mobius tends to go really dark when you point it towards any bright objects. So what we're looking at is the light handling capability of this camera. So hopefully at this stage you're beginning to formulate an opinion in terms of which camera you like best. So what we'll do here is reveal which is which, and there you go. You have the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition on the left hand side, and you have the Xiaomi Yi camera on the right hand side. Now it's worth noting I'm running stock firmware. Now over here I got times to shoot in the car, reason being it's actually quite dark and you've got bright lights coming in from outdoors, and you're just checking to see how it handles the different light changes. You've got bright areas and dark areas and some varying light, so it just shows the light handling capability of the camera. And as you can see, both cameras are handling it quite well. Hopefully this comes out reasonably good on YouTube, so make sure you're watching this in 1080p. Over here you can see the direct sunlight pointing in towards both these cameras, and we've still got good detail on the ground, the road, the grass, the trees, etc. So there you go, that is a quick test with both cameras, and this should give you a good idea of the video quality out of this camera and how it compares to a GoPro. Looking at it at the pixel level and looking at the video in far more detail as in the raw footage itself, I'd have to say without a doubt the GoPro Hero 4 Black Edition is better. Now that could be a number of reasons. It could be the hardware, the data rate that it's actually using, etc. But having said that, for a camera that's only a fraction of the cost, that's I think only marginally more expensive than the Mobius, this isn't a bad alternative at all. Once we get ours, like I said, I will do some further tests with it and do some firmware updates and try out some of the hacks and see how we go. So what I'll do is leave you with the rest of this footage. Anyway, thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Hopefully you found this video helpful, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.